Town of Hopkinton zoning board meeting to order. If we could all stand for a moment of silent meditation and salute the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we start with our agenda, I just want to read into the record a letter we got from our past chairman and long-time zoning board member, Phil Scalise. He actually he put in his formal resignation after, gosh, I want to say probably 18 years. It's addressed to the town clerk. Lisa, it is with mixed emotion that I submit this letter of resignation. My time in the zoning board was exciting and almost always a learning opportunity with regards to the town history, or human interaction. I do miss and will miss, but as Laura and I speed into retirement planning mode, there is much to do and less time to do it, hence this difficult decision. We've been truly blessed with a complexion of the board over the last 20 years that I have recollection of. It's amazing how lucky we've been to have such an open-minded, resident-conscious members who do the hard work to generate equitable decisions for all. None of it was or is easy. My experience on the board has truly been one of the high points of my life, and for that I thank the town and all my co-members on the board for the incredible opportunity. With that, please accept this letter effective immediately so that you can move on to an alternate who may serve and experience the town and serve as I have had the honor of. Very respectfully, Phil Scalise. So I think I'll speak for the board. I'd like to thank Phil for all the years he put in, and personally I'd like to thank him because he taught me a lot. I mean, actually all you guys do, even the new members, every meeting is something new. There's curveballs constantly, and Phil was actually very, very articulate and well spoken, and I think he was pretty even keeled. He tolerated a lot from us, but I'm gonna miss him.
Yeah, no, I'll say that. Good job, man.
All right, so thank you, Phil. We're gonna move on now. So petition 1 was to determine the completeness of applications, consider waivers, and hearing continued from February 21st, 2019 meeting. It was a petition for a special use permit filed by Kevin Ward with the address of 568 Main Street, Hopkinton, Rhode Island, 02833, on behalf of himself and his spouse for property owned and located at 568 Main Street, Hopkinton, Rhode Island, 02833, identified as Assessor Plat Lot T86 and RFR 80 zone, and filed in accordance with sections 8C and 10 of Chapter 134 of the zoning ordinances of the town of Hopkinton as amended.
I make a motion to continue to next month.
Due to illness.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Good motion. We're going to continue that to the next month's meeting, which would be, it looks like April 18th. So if we do that one, now we're on petition 2, determine completeness of application, consider waivers continued from February 21st, 2019 meeting. A petition for a special use permit filed by Louis Raymond and Richard Erickson on behalf of themselves with permission from property owner Robert McKay, with mailing address of 2160 Rowley Way, Folsom Spa, New York, 12010, and located at 1 Fox Falls Road, Hopkinton, Rhode Island, 02833. Identified as Assessor's Plat 26, Lot 10, and RFR zone, and filed in accordance with Section 8C and 10 of Chapter 134 of the zoning ordinances of the town of Hopkinton as amended. The applicants present or represented. Did they ask for a continuance?
No, we never received anything.
No correspondence like that. Nothing. Okay.
Did he explain that process? We gave him a ton of stuff to do, but did you think they got a hint there?
My recollection is we left it on the agenda open so that they didn't need to reapply. And I don't know if we were clear as to have them let us know if they were going to attend or not, if they were ready.
I
Go ahead.
thought he specifically said they wanted to do do it this month, because you were gonna, extend it out if they needed it, but they definitely wanted to be.
Yeah, no, they said,
No conversation to have that this month.
they said they were on a deadline crunch, and they gave us packs of homework to go out of here. It was
I'm willing to,
we did.
I'm willing to make a motion to continue, just,
Second.
Do you want to continue, or you want to table it just to see if they show up late, and then we can continue?
table it, and then we'll continue it at the end if they don't come.
So can I entertain a motion to table this, to the end of the meeting?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Tabled. Petition 3,
I better recuse myself.
we're just swapping bands for a moment. And then, so petition 3 is a hearing continued from February 21st, 2019. It's a petition for dimensional variance filed by Kelly Casa, Esquire, on behalf of Thurston F. and Sherry J. Ponte, with mailing address of 25 Creek Drive, Valley, Rhode Island, 02832. The property owned by them and located at 25 Creek Drive, Hope Valley, Rhode Island, 02832, identified as Assessor's Plat 18, Lot 65, an R1 zone, and filed in accordance with Section 9 of Chapter 134 of the zoning ordinance of the town of Hopkinton as amended. The applicant or representative present? Hi.
We're here.
We're here.
We dismissed our attorney.
You just missed him?
We did.
Okay. Sure, he probably appreciated it too. He didn't listen to us when he, but, so, I'm under the understanding that you guys came to some form of
Right. You
agreement.
want me to just speak from here?
If you, yeah, if you want to just state your name for the record.
Sherry Ponte,
Okay, and you are the applicant, and you live at?
25 Keith Drive, Oak Valley.
Okay, go ahead, speak through it.
So Thurston and I met with the Diallos, and we presented to them the option of removing our camper for as long as their home is for sale. When they post their house for sale, we'll take the camper out. And when their house is closed, we'll bring the camper back. And
Okay,
the Diallos have agreed to that.
okay, so they're listing their house, they're putting their house on the market.
Correct.
Okay,
Did you guys come up with a time frame on that?
We do, approximately, we said in the agreement like April 15th, but it'll probably be more like the beginning of May. And there will be an end date of, I think we have, what, December 15th? Or if they sell before that, whatever comes first.
Can I read it to the board, and that way?
Sure. And then give us a copy if you can.
And you
hang
guys
on,
have-
hang on one second, Mr. Young. No, they still have to have a selection, I mean, abandoned house. So just give them, get that information. They still need to do it.
We will, though, during this time that their home is listed for sale, before it's sold or before it's closed on, we will still have the option of bringing it home from storage to pack and unpack. You know, when we use it, we will be using it to some. So that's,
Okay, so,
is not in question as far as I know.
so your understanding of your agreement is that camper shall not remain on the property for storage from the time he starts the listing of his property to the time it's sold, or December 15th.
Correct.
Yes,
So that would be a condition of variance, the dimensional variance.
yes, yeah, that's why I'm trying to get clarity on, so that,
So now I have a question for the board.
Why would that be a condition?
because that's the agreement
It's
they
not,
made.
it's not against the town ordinance to have it there.
No, it's not.
That's agreement between them.
You don't want that in there as a
No,
condition?
it's not, they're not violating the town ordinance. The building is violating the town ordinance. That's what, that should be a separate.
Okay, that's their own separate agreement?
Yeah, this is their own separate agreement. If one of them fails, they got the full right to sue the other one. It's a legal document. But it has nothing to do with us, in my opinion.
I'm gonna ask the solicitor, I believe he agrees with, you know, I just want clarity.
Yeah, no, I agree, Barney's correct.
Okay.
That's a binding agreement between two separate parties, the board can get it on.
Excellent.
I'll show you my law degree later.
That was my next question. This would have no bearing on my deed or my zoning or anything. It's going to be recorded in the minutes, and that is all. There won't be any legal stipulations of my property and its use.
That's what we just discussed.
Okay.
The agreement between you will have no bearing on your deed or anything else. That kind of hurts me.
I'm just gonna shut it up.
Okay, thank
You're welcome.
There'll be nothing listed in the zoning that my lot has a restriction on it.
you. No.
Okay.
No, I mean, as Ronnie clarified, and the solicitor agrees with, we're here solely on the building. Which that makes sense, I mean, both of them. The agreement between the two of you, I would expect you to honor it.
Of course.
I mean, and it's same, I know he's got some stuff to say, so we'll let him have a second.
I do not have a lot to say. I mean, it was, we spent, I don't know, an hour or so among all of us trying to come to some sort of compromise.
Yeah.
And so we did. And then I get it, they say now it's not part of this hearing.
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's a legal document
So you
between
were
the two
just
of you.
arbitrating between us, is that what you?
On the camp,
Mhm.
we're gonna make a decision on the building.
Okay,
That's a separate item.
okay, so you don't want any of this? You don't want to hear it, you don't want to see it?
No, the lawyer says that it's a binding agreement between the two of you. So,
It's a personal agreement.
It's a personal agreement,
Between the
because-
two of you.
Okay,
the camp is not violating any of our ordinances.
okay.
By being
This
there.
is what we're basing our lack of objection to the building remaining.
Correct.
Right.
Okay,
And if they don't, or either one of you break the contract,
okay.
you know, they're gonna have good grounds to sue you, or vice
You
versa.
vice versa.
Yeah.
Okay, then we have an objection to the variance.
And we appreciate you guys getting together and being able to
Very well.
work that out by yourself.
Time worked out.
No, I,
It was fate, right, Tim?
It worked out, you're right.
no, I,
They don't want it.
They don't want to have it.
Okay, now that this is done, I'm in a butter, I got the letter, and I have a couple of things that I'd like to add to the record.
Well, that's when we get the hearing.
That didn't happen, it was adjourned
no, we're
before
still in
everyone's
here.
here.
Oh, then,
Yeah, no, you can, if you want to come up, just state your name for the record and.
so we open the hearing back up.
Hi, my name is Dick Noel, Richard Noel, I live at 39 Lisa, and I had expected to speak at the original hearing, but that didn't happen, and I'm glad that it didn't, because some of the things that just came up were things that occurred to me as an abutter. First of all, there were two reasons that were offered requesting the variance. One was that they went over the property and they discovered that there was no way to conveniently move it. And the second was that apparently there would be some expense involved in moving it, but no cost if you did. And so I just want to go over a couple of things. First of all, there are 36 single-family homes in that development, countrywide. And each of them has a home, a two-car garage, a paved driveway that was all required for the buildings. In addition, they've all got a septic, they've all got a well, all the stuff that was being offered, and underground utilities. And most people have a shed. And that pretty much fills up an acre. And so the problem is that when you start adding RVs and outbuildings and a barn and a trailer and a camper, pretty soon there's no way to put it on the property without encroaching on the setback requirements. You can't comply with the zoning and put all that stuff on your property. And so the problem there is that if you add all of that stuff and you need room for all of that stuff, it just seems to me that maybe a 1 acre lot is not really appropriate. It's not the best fit if you have all of that stuff. And there are plenty of places that are a good fit for it. But I don't think being in the middle of that neighborhood is the fit. The second thing was that there's apparently no cost to leaving it. And the problem with that is that they almost wouldn't be here asking you for this. They wouldn't have gone to the trouble and expense of being here if that were true, because they are expecting to sell their home. And we're in exactly the same situation. We've been there since the home was built, over 30 years. And it's more house than we need, and we're gonna be looking to sell it just like the Alamos. And so, it's, everybody, there's an old saw about home buying. It's all about three things, and that's location. Because when you buy a home, you're not just buying the house, you're buying the whole area. And every home, the value of all those homes are tied together. So this is why we have these zoning laws, is to protect the investment of the home buyer, to not have people encroaching on the setbacks and being on other people's property. Now, I do have to say, in all of that time, I'm not aware of any disagreement of this kind. I've never had my property formally surveyed. We just, my neighbor and I will talk. I'm going to put up a fence, I'm going to trim some trees that are in my way, and we say, fine, go ahead and do that. But I couldn't actually tell you that I don't have a fully, surveyed lot. But the bottom line is that when we, just like the De Alamos, when we go to sell a house, that's kind of a red flag if you have a non-conforming property. And if a real estate agent brings somebody there who's interested in that house, and they say, well, we love this house, but you know what the problem is? We're not really crazy about the neighborhood. That can cost me, if it's 10% of the value of the house, it's tens of thousands of dollars. It's not free to have non-conforming property in the neighborhood. And it's not as if we're out, somewhere where we're acres and acres away from the next nearest guy. These houses are fairly close, and without those setbacks, it just isn't the same property. Now, the next thing, the new thing was this agreement. And I understand the attorney for the De Alamos represents the De Alamos. He is acting in their best interest. And that deal works for them if everybody honors it. But the problem is, our house hasn't been on the market yet, and we're not going to beat that to market. So the problem is, the minute that sold sign goes up, that stuff up the, whatever it is, the camper or whatever it is, all goes back there. And it's there forever. After that, it's permanent. The variance is granted, the thing is encroaching on the setback, and it's there. And it's very, very obvious. And so where I'm going with that is, it doesn't help, it's worse for me, because at that point, we have no recourse. If somebody comes in and says, just drive by.
So I'm gonna, if I can interrupt you for a minute, and the board can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they're gonna agree with where I'm headed. Last meeting, we tried to put a little clarity on what we're here for. We're here specifically for dimensional variance on a shed,
Right,
not on a camper,
right,
not on his toys,
exactly right.
not on anything else on the property other than the shed.
Okay,
And the town right now doesn't have much control over any of his toys. You can put as many toys as you want.
oh, no, I get that, I
Right?
get that.
And to try to leverage the camper to stop a dimensional variance is not appropriate.
Fair enough, and that was not my intention, I'm not even suggesting that. What I'm suggesting is, it is encroaching, it's in violation of
What
the
is?
setback. The shed barn.
The shed is.
Now, a shed, by the way, when I think of a shed, everybody's got a shed. 8 by 12, 10 by 12, that's a shed. Take a ride out there, that's not what we're talking about here.
I have a 12 by 20 shed, just to let you know.
Okay,
So the shed was placed on the property before the Pontes owned it.
that's correct, and I really feel bad if that was misrepresented.
And no, I mean, so they were unaware that it was in any violation. The previous owner built it there. And I think it was, if I remember right from last meeting, it was just kind of accepted that it was there.
Well, to be more accurate, there was testimony that neither party knew where the property line actually was, nor the circuit.
It was assumed it was a straight line, right? The transformer box was there.
And so that's unbeknownst to them. And any of their toys have no relevance to how that shed wound up there or them. They were not the one that created the
I
situation.
get it, I understand that, and I'm sympathetic. And part of where I'm going with this is, and this is the final meeting, is that the idea of, we know this is an anchor on selling this property. We know that somebody buying this property will be less impressed by what they see if this is there, if the camper is there than if it's not there. So it's fundamentally, I think, dishonest to kind of disguise that, let somebody buy the house, and then the next day, the whole idea of this bargain comes apart because it was predicated on kind of tricking the buyer into seeing a property that wasn't the one that they were gonna move in next to.
I disagree. That camper can stay there regardless,
Well, yeah, absolutely.
right? So nobody's tricking anyone. Right now, they're working out of an agreement with their neighbor, which side that abuts with, so that both of them they have an agreement, so they can tolerate one another,
And it's there.
right? And right now, if they want to leave that camper there and park it on their front lawn, they can do it. And that camper has no setback requirement. If they want to put that an inch from your line, they can.
I get it, I
Right.
get that. But they do have a building that isn't violating
Right.
the setback.
You can object to that,
That is
and we'll take
precisely-
that under consideration.
That is precisely the consideration.
That's
It's a
fine.
violation of zoning, it was not put there deliberately, there was no intention to put it there, but it turned out when the property gets surveyed, it's in violation.
Right. And that's why we're here, and that happens a lot.
Yeah.
This
I'd like to
board,
say
this
that
board
it's-
sees that, and most neighborhoods, virtually all neighborhoods are in non-conformance from the day they're built. So a non-conformity is a very common thing. That's why this board is here and why we sit every month, because of pre-existing non-conforming.
Your lot's a non-conforming lot.
If you say so.
Well, you said it's only an acre.
It's an acre.
The ordinance now is 225 feet of road frontage and 2 acres. So
So
you're a non-conforming lot.
Well, actually, it turns out, that whole thing was approved and laid out, it was, as I understand, the last 1 acre, approved last 1 acre, it was conforming at the time.
Yes,
It was,
but-
and just about everything in Hopkinton was conforming at one time. But the minute the town council changes the ordinance,
Yeah, that's right.
you become non-conforming if you don't fit in the new ordinance.
So,
I disagree with it too, by the way.
well, it is what it is.
It is the way the law is.
But it is clearly in violation of the setback, the building is there, and it clearly impacts the value of my home when I go to sell it. And I don't think I can get out between now and April, or whatever that day is. We haven't planned it, but it's obviously gonna have to happen.
So I find that interesting that a shed/barn would appreciate someone's property value when that is a common accessory item that's on the property. It's a structure that's common in all residential areas, whether it's a garage, a shed, or a barn.
But in all fairness, he has the right to object.
Oh, he does.
We finish the hearing and
Okay.
bring the facts at the table, we can make a decision.
I think he's more concerned about the density. It's not about the shed or the trailer up in and of itself. It's a group, and I think that he's pressing his objection to that shed, because I agree with him. I mean, you remove certain things from the property, and potential buyers come along and say, okay, this is what it is. And they don't know what the backdrop is. They don't know about these proceedings. Then all of a sudden, they purchase and come back. I don't know that that's such a big deal, but I understand his concern, and I think what he's doing is almost speaking on behalf of the other folks to say, listen, you just signed an agreement, how are you gonna enforce it? That's why I don't think this board should have anything to do with that agreement, nor should we represent in any way, shape, or form that's enforceable. I think it'll be up to them to test that if it comes to that.
I thought we made that perfectly clear.
I don't know that you did, I mean,
I'm sure I did.
I didn't hear that, you know, I didn't hear it that
You
way.
didn't hear the part where I said if one breaks it, the other one can sue him, it's all civil?
I don't know that you could,
No?
because I didn't see the agreement, so I don't wanna
Well,
make
they
that.
both had lawyers, so I gotta assume
That's between them.
it's still not got anything to do with this proceeding.
Well, I think it does, because I think what it is serving as an inducement for that man to pull back his objection to this variance. So I think it is actually very involved.
I disagree.
Well, that's something we
But
can
that's
have
why
when we
this
get to
is not one
discussion.
of us.
Do you have anything?
That's it, I just wanted to let it be known that the parties were the Almos were the only people that had an issue, that they solved for the Almos, but it does nothing for the rest of the community.
Okay. Anybody else here to speak on this hearing? No? Good. Yes, sir.
I can
State, can you
understand
state, address us, you don't need to question him, just bring, if you have
From
some.
Monty, 25 Keith Drive. I know there's an issue. The shed is within variance. And the camper, which we made an agreement between us, that that's what we're going to do, and we signed it all up. But now if someone else pushes for the shed, not to be there, I'll spend the money and move it 15 feet. Then everything stays there. I'm sorry that, I don't know where, Jim and all, we're all set. That's what I want to say. Nothing's going to come down.
Yeah.
I'll move it if it's permitted.
So we, typically we let your neighbor speak, so I mean, he can speak on his own behalf, and so he said what he said, and you guys have your agreement, right? Now, we're all aware of that, now we'll have discussion, and then ultimately we're gonna make our decision and then hand it down. Depending on how that goes down, then you can make your decision as to what you wanna do or what you don't need to do.
Okay.
So if it's favorable to you, then you can do what you did with your neighbor and keep the camper away, you know, under your agreement, and then that solves that problem. Because you'll have a ruling from us tonight, and then take it as it goes, I guess. I mean, I think we have all the evidence we need at this point. We just have to have a discussion to see if we can all wrap our heads around it, right? Okay. So if nobody else has anything to say about it, why don't we, you guys want to go through findings of fact on this? Okay, so what do you guys see as findings of fact for this? So we've got a shed village for 13.1 foot variance. Is that correct? Is that something else on that? So, one of the facts that I would have is that we know that the Pontes purchased the property, the shed was on, it was on the belongs to them, and it was encroaching on the setback.
It should be a fact.
Right, so that's a fact.
Another fact to go with the same thing is the landowner next door did not know that it was encroaching.
The animals?
Yeah.
Okay, so then the neighbors whose sideline it was encroaching on also did not know that the shed was encroaching. It was wrong, so,
And the length of time that it was there should be part of the facts. 7 years, I think it was.
in which case,
It was 2008, 2009.
as per tax card, it was built in 2010. Does it know that took? That's at least what the town has recorded. That's when the town picked it up, it could have been before.
So it's at least 9
It was 9 years of this.
Yeah, so the shed's been there about 9 years. So that would be a fact. Also, the testimony that we received from Mr. Giamo, he said that he really didn't have an issue with the shed being, now that the lean-to was taken off of it. He said his main issue was the motorcycle shed. And I also, you know, as a finding of fact, I just said it, but I want to say it again, as a finding, that a shed or a barn is a common thing that you find in all residential areas throughout our community and all neighboring communities. It's a normal structure that's going to be found on residential property. Boy, I don't really know what we need much else for facts.
My knowledge would also be on the animation removed from the.
Yes, okay, that's good, the Pontes removed the lean-to, and also as a finding of fact, the Pontes and the Giamos came to a personal agreement as to placement of the motor coach, as to where and when and how it'll be placed through, the remaining time to be animals or living in that property. You guys think of any others?
We entered the statements from Attorney Picasso from the last meeting. We want to enter his statements as a filing fact.
Do you recall any of the points?
Yeah, that's what
Well, actually, as a finding of fact, I have a couple of notes here. There were no permits ever pulled for the shed. That was the finding of fact that was on the record. And also that the Rhode Island Real Estate disclosure states that there are no easements or encroachments or building special use permits that were applied for during the purchase that Ponte's made. Under Attorney Picasso with that.
Additionally, it's not common to have a survey done in conjunction with a closing.
That's a good one.
Correct, no, that is a good one.
What was that? Did you catch that?
Traditionally, it's not common to have a survey done. Well, at the time of the sale or during.
You would have to have one that was done prior.
So you don't have
It's not, we don't have to have, we're not a survey state.
It wouldn't have been reasonable for the Montes to have a survey done when they purchased the property, and would have discovered it on their own court.
That's probably a very important finding.
So basically, you're not doing any kind of survey, like land survey, like, say, Danny would do
It's not
prior to selling the house.
Not required.
Well, that's what, that would eliminate a lot of this, but we're not a survey state. Some states in the country are, and it helps to clean some of the stuff up. Also, there were site constraints that the Pontes pointed out from utility lines, the well and septic, the limit the moving of the shed. Right. And they pointed that out through their testimony. We had a site plan that actually explained a lot of that. Also, as a finding, there was, in 2012, there was deed restrictions on that, I think on that whole development, that expired. So I recollect Attorney Picasso stating that.
That was tested.
Yeah. Well, that thing that I would have explained. So with that being said, can I entertain a motion to accept those as findings of fact?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so if we can move on, I think I'll do this the way What's that?
And a client on the keyboard.
Oh, that's okay. You want to do anything you guys can say? Yeah, yeah. Well, then this is what it is,
Make a motion that in granting a variance, the zoning board shall require that the evidence satisfying the following standards be entered into the record of proceeding. One, that the hardship from.
You make that motion?
No, that's the, that's,
Okay.
Yeah,
that's the intro.
Oh, you just stopped like you were looking for a second.
No, no.
So one, that the hardship for which the applicant seeks relief is due to the unique characteristics of the subject land or structures and not to the general characteristics of the surrounding area, is not due to the physical or economic disability of the applicant.
Okay, so that's a motion. Do you guys want to elaborate on that at all, or if you find you do that?
No, it's no fault of theirs, I mean, from everything we've seen and read.
The finding of facts represent.
So can I get a second to Joe's motion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
these all as a motion?
Yeah, each one
Each one's
going
gonna be
to
on
go
the
in
motion.
motion, so.
Okay. I make a motion that the hardship is not the result of any prior action of the applicant, as the structure predates their ownership of said lot, and does not result primarily from the desire of the applicant to realize greater financial gain.
Second,
Second.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
I make a motion that in granting of the requested variance will not alter the general characteristics of the surrounding area or impair the intent or purpose of the zoning ordinance or the comprehensive plan upon which this ordinance is based, as the barn described and shown in the site plan is not uncommon building in this area.
That one I'd elaborate and say, it's been there for 10 years with no other complaints. So,
And then you guys can add to that, that's fine. That's-
no, but that's the most glaring, I mean, it wasn't built yesterday.
I mean, it was something that was built on a weekend, it was something that's been there for a while, and of course, some of these people fell into it.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor with Ron's addition that it's been one that's been in for over 10 years. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I motion that the relief to be granted is the least relief necessary, as there are no other sideline setback issues with this particular one.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So that the zoning board shall, in addition to the above standards required, that evidence be entered into the record of proceedings showing that in granting a dimensional variance of the hardship that will be suffered by the owner of the subject property, if the dimensional variance is not granted, shall amount to more than a mere inconvenience. The fact that a use may be more profitable or that the structure may be more valuable after relief is granted shall not be grounds for relief.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh,
Discussion.
Well, you know, the applicant did mention the fact that he could move it, you know, he can move it 15 feet. And I think it was said more of an emotion than it was said, you know, in reality, because we heard testimony to the contrary, that it would be difficult, it would be,
It's worth the expense.
it would be quite an expense to do so. So I want, you know, at least the discussion to reflect the fact that maybe that wasn't entirely an accurate statement, and I think that proceeding forward, we're going to proceed forward based on the premise that it would be a hardship to move that.
I definitely concur with Danny, that wouldn't be a cheap thing to do.
No, it was up against the fence, wasn't it, so you wouldn't really be.
Yeah, I mean, it's driveway, it's fence, it's a lot of work.
Oh, yeah, he's got pavement in the way,
Yeah.
a fence in the way.
It's on a slab.
Yeah, it's on a slab, I mean, it's a bit of an undertaking, it's not like it's a pole barn where you could detach it from the barn and just
Chainsaw removal.
slide it over.
I do agree with that his statement was kind of like an emotional state to try.
I don't want to speak for you.
No, you're right, it was emotional, it can't be done, yes. We're just overly aggravated about what we all got into, that's the whole problem.
So with that, I would be, you know, I would suggest we make a vote.
Okay. So, Joe had a motion.
It's already been seconded, he just made a comment.
I
Just,
Okay.
So we just called for the vote on it.
Okay, you guys ready?
Aye.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
I'm gonna put the dimensions, it's 13.1, I believe, it's easy.
Yeah, 13 feet.
Yeah.
Okay, so, with that, I move to the zoning board finds based on the previous findings of fact, we approve this 13.1 foot dimensional variance.
Okay, all in favor? Actually, do I get a second? I jumped in on a second.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so the variance has been granted. I appreciate you guys working with your neighbor on it. I know
Thank you
it's-
very much.
I know it's stressful on your side too, I do appreciate
It's
it.
always better when both parties come together and work out. There you go. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Best of luck selling home.
Oh, thank you.
So far.
No,
Shazam!
Anybody can go tomorrow, but way over in that neighborhood apartment.
That's like, say if you got a couple of those loud trucks you drive.
Alright, so we'll move on to petition. Petition 4, which is a hearing continued from February 21st, 2019. The petition for a special use permit filed by Edward and Juliet Sherman. The mailing address is 163 Canal Street, West of Rhode Island, 02891. On behalf of themselves, the property owner located at 165 Ashway Road, Bradford, Rhode Island, 02808, identified as Assessor Plat 23, Lot 4, an RFR 80 zone, and filed in accordance with Section 8C and 10 of Chapter 134 of the zoning ordinance of the town of Hopkinton as amended. We have the applicant is present. So, if I recall from last meeting, we were discussing the size of mulch bins, is probably where we left off. Is that,
I think we got through all that. I thought we were at public comment.
I think that's where left off.
is that what it is? All right.
Pretty sure we left off at public comment.
Is that public comment? So, if we, I will accept more public comment unless you guys are ready to rock and roll. You want me to, can I see that? So actually, before we get started with that, we did get a request from Attorney Camoli to try to continue this hearing. It's up to the board whether they would like to continue. His reasoning was that Attorney Asselone is away on vacation and that he was seeking clarification on whether the consent order was in compliance or not with the town manager and the town solicitor. This is, in my view, it's not the attorney's decision to continue a meeting. It's up to this board to allow a continuance. So that's why I brought it back before this board, because it seemed like we were getting force-fed an attempt for a continuation. And just to go on further, we've gone above and beyond on this case for years. And we've continued and continued, and we've constantly been stalled. And I don't feel that it's right to continue this. I think we were at the point where we're going to make a decision. The property is on the market. It's up for sale. And it's my view that the consent agreement that was made between the owner of the property and the town is not binding to the property. It's between the property owner and the town. So if somebody new purchases this property, that consent order will not follow with that. They will still have violations that were issued by the town if they're not cleaned up. But to allow this to stall any further gives more time for the applicant to sell the property and get out from under the consent order and try to run from the mess it's created, in my view. So it's up to you guys if you want to continue the meeting and allow Attorney Camoli to come in, or if you want to proceed, and we will give a decision on the special use hearing that we are here for tonight.
I'm thinking about the consent order. If he settled, why doesn't consent order go with the property?
And with that, would
The consent order is not, it doesn't run with the land. There's no recording of it in the town record. A potential buyer, it wouldn't be reasonable for them to go search the judiciary record as opposed to town records. So it wouldn't be seen as running with the land. It's on Mr. Sherman, it's not on the property. So that's why I wouldn't run with it.
so let me back up your original. So basically what we're saying is, just Mr. Sherman sells a property that it doesn't carry over to the next buyer or owner, it stops.
Correct.
Okay, so there would be any restrictions going further.
Correct. Unless it was proven that they had actual knowledge of that when they purchased the property.
Excellent. Thank you, Counsel.
Okay,
So if somebody wrote him a check yesterday to buy it, the new owners would, and the neighbors would get none of the relief.
Correct.
Well, all the violations still are there, you know, the greenhouses that are old and that need dimensional variances, they would have to reapply. Right?
My issue with that, and I think it's going along your way of thinking, is what just happened to these people. They bought a house, thought everything was great, and found out their shed's within the property line. If the violations are still on record, the sale goes through, the closing happens, we have to violate the new people that bought it.
Right.
So, and then they would be on the hook for making it right.
It creates a Pandora's box. So, and
That's
I
my issue.
So again, I think, I beat this to death, there's two different things going on. We're not here for the consent order, primarily. We're here for a special use permit. Before, we were here for variances and special use permit, now we're here only on special use permit for allowing mulch bins and allowing that little shed. Everything else was pulled off the table. Right,
So if we're not here for the consent order, then the consent order doesn't play for us. Whether we continue this hearing or not, it makes zero difference.
so now, I believe, and
Right?
council can correct me, so now the problem that we have is our decision on this hearing has delayed some of the consent order follow-through. Because there's a timeline with, there's 8 items in that consent order, if I remember correctly. There's a timeline with them. Several of them had 90 days, some had 60 days, some had 30 days, but they've been delayed because we were making a decision. We allowed that delay on some of those because we're kind of in the gray area of deciding what we're going to do with the mulch. The mulch piles have stayed there. The blocks were dismantled and stockpiled, okay? But we haven't allowed the use of mulch in those bins. But the consent order said he had to get rid of them in 90 days, or in the view of zoning, we got to make the decision. So we haven't made a decision on that yet. We could roll into that maybe after the special use permit decision, no?
If you see fit.
But I think that we should make a decision on the special use permit, on the 2 items that we're here for tonight, and then we can go into discussion on the consent order. And I think what we need to do is we need to set a timeline and conditions on the consent order as to when they need to be followed through. He's already 180 days over on the longest ones. So the 90-day ones, we're already 180 days. He's had half a year of grace period to do it. So now it's time to, it's go time. If there's going to be follow through with them, and this is my opinion, they need to be done promptly. He knew they were there, he knew they needed to be done. And delaying and stalling to wait for buyer of this property does nobody any justice, because the neighbors have been tortured for the last year or more, several years by this. So that's my 2 cents.
Well, I think we were ready anyway, because it was agreed upon on size and location in the last hearing.
Okay,
So we were okay with the size and how he was gonna put them.
do we need a vote to continue? I think we just continue. I mean, it's not really.
Well, we didn't close the hearing.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
We can reconvene.
yeah, all right.
I would take a vote.
All right, so could I entertain a motion to continue the hearing and not,
There's a question in the audience.
I didn't know if you had any public comment.
not yet?
We were gonna get to that, because we were in the middle of public comment when we stopped. So,
Sorry, that's,
once we reopen it,
It's public.
So I would entertain a motion that we proceed as the agenda states, and that we not allow Attorney Tomorrow's continuance. So, would anybody entertain that motion?
so move.
Okay, can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. So now we're going to continue. So, I I can reopen public comment, but I want to state because of last month's conduct. Anyone that's going to speak out there, speak directly to the board or directly to me. I don't want snide comments coming from the back, behind people, to address the board, period. People are here and they're supposed to be professional, conduct themselves reasonable, have a little respect for each other. We're not sitting in a recess or in a bar or something like that. Act professional. We don't need snide comments. When somebody's speaking, please be quiet. Let them get their 2 cents out. We just saw it with the last hearing where we had 3 neighbors, they were in disagreement, but you know what, at least they were polite. So I would expect that from anybody. So let's conduct ourselves this way tonight. So I think it's pretty sad when I have to have a call from the attorney who was embarrassed from the client last month. So with that being said, I think Councilor Cavallo has something to add.
Well, just a second, in all fairness, Karen was on the floor when you shut it down.
Oh,
So if she has something to say, she should be the first.
you're right. Okay, sorry.
Sorry, Barbara, but she was at the podium when I made a motion to shut it down because of what was going on.
That time,
Do you have anything?
Karen, would you like to add?
Karen Lees, I know the routine. 171 Ashley Road, Bradford. I was remembering this week, there's been a lot of commotion this month, because obviously they're getting ready to prepare to open. And I was remembering all the years that the previous owner Rose had it. And she sold mulch and bags, and she never had owned one piece of equipment. So I just wonder why we can't just have that again. Why can't, it's a residential area, why can't we just go back to that? There's been a lot going on this month. I did get an email from Bill McGarry to let me know that Ted had called him and said he had a gas leak, and Bill gave him permission to bring a large piece of equipment on the property to repair that. I don't know exactly. I know it was removed yesterday, so it was there for quite some time. And the last 2 days there's been big machinery in there. Not sure exactly what he was doing. But I just, it's hard now after the winter, being nice and quiet, to get used to all of it again. So I just, I said the same thing over and over again. It's a residential area. Why can't we just go back to the way it was? Why does it even have to be any machines? Sell the mulch in the bags like she did. She did a great business. She was successful. No problems. Let's go back to that. That's about all I got. I'm much quieter tonight.
Wow, that's fun.
It's Thursday.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
it's okay.
Go ahead, Elba.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, my comment just happened today. I didn't know that he had equipment in for a gas leak or whatever Karen has just said. I didn't realize that, but I know that I've been in other hearings and you've kept his trucks to a smaller size. But today there was a tractor with a trailer that was effectively semi-length long, because I came around 216 and the truck had blocked the entire road, and someone was directing it so it could come back in straight, but it was very large, and coming around the curve, you don't know it's there until you're around the curve. So I know you said not to have the really big trucks in, but this was literally a tractor, and the length of the semi was the ramp that I guess they're getting the big equipment onto, I would assume. But I don't know what can be done just to keep that safer, because people were coming from both Chase Hill and 216 from both sides, and suddenly there's the whole road is closed off.
So, when you ask the question, what can be done to make it safer? I
No,
think,
I think it had more to do with that you had told them that they only use small trucks,
right,
12 foot, 18 foot, so that you can turn in. This is one where you block the road to get in.
so we have a consent order that was agreed upon back in the end of September with the town, right? Anything that's in violation of that is in violation of that order. It's the town's duty to show that it was violated.
I
So,
thought it might be needed if it's like huge equipment that you're getting onto a semi to remove it.
so tell me, what action propels the town forward to now taking back to court for being in violation of these things?
I'm not planning on taking it back to court. I just didn't know if there's something that if he knows he's going to be crossing the road and blocking it, that there's maybe 2 people to try to stop traffic,
So,
so we all know before
yeah,
we
but we
go.
don't govern traffic violations. We govern land use, right? So he has a land use violation that he had to get a consent order from Rhode Island Superior Court. It's a written document. He has to abide by it. He has not abided by some of this. Some of this is in discussion with us through the special use permit. There's some things in here that he's complied with, there's other things that he has not. It's the town's duty to now cite him for those things he's in violation for. This board does not have the ability to propel the town council to take him to court. We've been struggling with this for years, right? Because we don't have a red button where we could say, you're going to court because you're not upholding our ordinances. This case has been made a mockery of by the applicant. And it's a shame that we're sitting here trying to give permission to something when somebody has just flown in the face of zoning and done what they wanted. They've irritated their neighbors on both sides, and time again keep coming in asking for special exceptions. So I love to use analogies. So if my kids ask me to do something, or to take them somewhere, or give them something special, but they continue to misbehave, I'm a damn fool if I do that, right? But the process we have to, because we have to be professional, and we have to hear these things, and we have to be open and objective, and we're trying to be. But we have an applicant that does whatever he wants, and he has an attorney that has delayed us, and he's doing a very good job installing, and he tried again tonight, because the property is up for sale, as I said. And this is not binded to the property. So any of the agreement that the town came up with is thrown out the window, and then a new party, he's doing what he wants, and it's flying in the face of us and the neighbors. So, and that's the tightrope that neighborhood businesses walk, right? So if we take all the parties away, we have a neighborhood business, they have to get along with the residential use and vice versa, because they're grandfathered in. It's a small business. When it starts to grow and get too big and it comes in violation of zoning ordinances, there's a problem. That's what happened here. In the beginning, we were trying to work it out, and we were very gracious and courteous in doing it. But again, like I said, time and time again, I feel that the town was made fool because we do not have anybody that could take action and call them on this block. So we're here tonight, and we're being polite and courteous and professional, and we're going through the motions of whether to allow a special use permit or not. And he's been in violation of this consent order since September 28th of last year on many of these things. They're not done. Attorney Camoli knows it. He's been talking with our solicitor about it, not the zoning solicitor, with the town solicitor. He's been talking with the town manager about it. That's inappropriate. All matters come to this board. Attorney Camoli knows that. It's not a decision that the town manager can make or the town solicitor. They don't govern this board.
It's really none of their business. It's none of the town council's business what zoning does. It's up to us to decide. And this isn't the first time the town manager stuck his nose where it doesn't belong. And so, you know, that's a separate issue. Well, it's part of the issue, but it is separate.
Well, you might not be aware of this.
I'm not aware of any of that.
But now you are.
Mhm.
I'm making you aware on the record, because Attorney Camoli reached out to our people, our solicitor and our manager. That's inappropriate. And I'm not saying that our manager or our solicitor has done anything wrong, right? If somebody calls them, they're gonna answer the call. But it is wrong to go down that direction. Anything before this board comes before this board. The town had this issued by the state court of Rhode Island, right? This doesn't go to Kevin, it doesn't go to Bill. This goes to this board and it goes to our solicitor. We're the ones that decide what's going on with this now. If the court told us what is there, he's not complying with it. So if those machines are there, now the town needs to take action. He's well over 90 days. I just said it on the record. This was September 28th. The machines were in there. He asked Bill because he had a gas leak, right? So he brought the machines in. The machines, according to Mrs. Luce, have sat there for a month or been doing things for a month. I don't know how long it takes to take care of a gas leak, but if you're not supposed to have equipment there, you think you'd expedite it and you'd get it in and get it out, right? There's nothing in there. I think that somewhere I read something that the blocks for the mulch bins were being taken out. I don't see where this board allowed the machines to go in and take the blocks out. They were supposed to be stockpiled, which they were, but now there's another activity going on where the machines came in to do something else. We didn't allow it. I don't know if Bill did, but Bill is now treading, the town manager is now treading into things that are going on. We have a living hearing going on. People are violating things. And then outside sources are injecting themselves into a hearing and muddying the waters and changing things. And the process is wrong. And unfortunately, the neighbors are the ones that get the bad end of the stick. So, I mean, I'm very fed up with this because, I mean, we've been dealing with this property since 2014, and it really should not be a big issue. We've handled things like this time and time again. They go clean as a whistle, but for some reason, we got something special going on here. So, night after night, we sit here and we watch violations, just live on. We watch, we have a new building inspector, we watch Sherry struggle with it. We watch this board struggle with it. The neighbors have been dying with it, but the town needs to
I'll see what I can do.
get moving on it.
I'll talk to
And-
our new zoning officer too, and see what we can do.
So I guess I spoke my piece on that. I don't know if you guys agree or what. That's where I'm at.
No, I mean, it's really, you pointed out the facts of what's going on, period.
Thank you.
Concur.
Is there anyone else in the audience that'd like to speak? Okay. You guys want to go into discussion here on finding the fact on the special use? We're going to stick to the special use. Sure. Is that a motion? Any second? All in favor? Aye. All right, public hearing is closed. We're going to go into discussion and findings and then ultimately a decision. Did I steal your papers? I have my new phone, yours, because mine is confusing.
That's confusing.
All right, you guys want to have discussion first, or want to go over findings and let the discussion just kind of go where it goes as we go through findings? All right, so what do you guys like to make regards to finding the fact? We want to look at the shed. Let's do the shed and then we'll do the management. So we had the shed that was in play was I believe it was the little one that was on the west side.
Yeah, to the front, that was going over.
No, that one's going.
That was going away, that was a little one.
I
Do we have a new site plan?
think this was.
Do you have the,
The big one you had just given me was the.
220 by 19 here,
That one?
right?
Do you want another one?
Oh, this, so here's the big one.
Okay, just for the record though, and I went back to look, the propane tank, I checked to see if there was a, is it on that one?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't on one of them I just looked at, but it was on the old one.
This is the newest one.
Yeah, it's on this
Okay.
one too. I recall the propane tank from the 14 one. I mean, I believe that was on. So the shed in play is an 8.5 by 12.5 foot shed. I believe that was on the western property. But that's being moved to the center of the property, right? In compliance of all dimensional setbacks. It's in the center. Again, the shed, as we just spoke to on the last hearing, the shed is a common, structure that's gonna be found on any residential property, businesses as well, so, it's been on the property and now it's being moved to make it actually more compliant with the zoning ordinance.
Correct.
To make it entirely compliant with the zoning ordinance.
So it might not have to be a point.
Yeah, but that was
If it's in compliance, then.
Right.
It's in compliance.
So that's the, shed. That would be any facts that we would have on the shed. You guys can make a motion to accept these facts. Do you want to do the shed separate? That's fine.
Well, because it's simple,
Okay, so can we have to
make
make
a
that
motion
one?
that the facts just mentioned, that we stipulate.
Make it a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Okay, so that's on the shed. So now, finding the fact on the mulch bins.
Now, I thought we had a print that showed the new mulch spreads.
right there.
Yes, it does. Because we have we discussed about changing the distance,
We talked about turning a little bit.
turning it a little bit, and I thought there was something about distance on where we were gonna cut.
So I think we were on 180,
Not 180, it's just slightly, so,
45-ish.
so a truck could just get in and would be done.
because right now they're facing north.
Right.
You guys want them to face like northwest?
Well, it was gonna work in the limits of the area that we were gonna allow. By turning it, made it work within the area that we were limited.
Right.
But I don't remember if we must have finished that.
I don't think we were, because I know Joe
We
got.
wouldn't have gone to public comment if we didn't finish it though.
I think this is started public comment.
No, usually you finish all that, go to public comment.
So, but that's okay, because we can discuss it and we can
Stipulate
we
that.
can move it, we can turn it. If we're gonna approve it, it's gonna be based on what we want.
Well, it was
We
just
have to
more
be very,
practical of a land use.
we have to be very specific about if we change dimensions or angles and placement.
Well, the reason that it was discussed, or I brought it up, was that whatever we do here continues with a new owner. So I wanted to make it easier or smarter for whoever buys it, if they're gonna continue using the mulch bins.
I thought we talked about last time was almost an imaginary line that dog lived right there.
Right.
Was that from there to the north, was gonna be green space or planting area, whatever was doing.
But I thought, Danny, and I thought I suggested that we go up a few more feet with it, just so there'd be plenty of room for the truck to not end up in that green space to dump into the mulch bins.
I have on this plan.
So I recall the conversation, I don't remember if it got elaborated on, we were gonna cut that off later.
Right, but then I suggested we needed to move it up a few more feet, just to have enough room for the truck to get into the mulch bins and not get into the area that we didn't want it.
Because that greenhouse to the left of it stays, right?
I think it does,
Because that's within the setback.
Right, so if you cut it here, it barely gives room for any truck to dump into the mulch bins,
They'd have to pull up in the green space.
up into the green space. So my discussion was.
Yeah, so it's okay if the truck pulls up in there, but I think we were gonna keep any of the structures, i.e. the mulch bins on this side of that, right?
Oh, okay, if you're okay with
Yeah.
a truck being able to pull into the green space,
And the key was
it just wasn't gonna be room enough.
they're not asking for dimensional variance for them. It really boiled down to length and width and then orientation of the bins.
Right.
Okay, so if I wrote my notes right on that. I think Joe scaled it, and each bin was gonna measure out 24 by 20.
And then Ronnie said one block high, gave him so many yards, we figured out whatever.
Yeah, I thought it was almost 100 yards,
Yeah,
so it was perfect.
Yeah.
But it was only gonna be,
2 bikes high.
So the notes,
yeah, 4 foot high.
well, actually, it was, well, I don't know if we settled on it, but we had discussion, it was 6 foot tall, pile mulch,
Right.
25 yards in each bin. The bin,
No, the math worked out more than 25 yards.
yeah, and then the math went big on the notes.
But the bins were staying the same. Actually, they were going shorter, instead of 6, they were going to 4, and you could get more in.
So how many tall?
2 tall, which was 4 feet.
4 feet.
2 blocks tall.
I think the applicant was the one that was asking for 25 yards apiece, the math just worked out to more, which gave him the ability to get 100 yards at a time, less trucks coming in, because he wouldn't have to get it as often. It was better for the neighbors, if my memory is coming back.
Well, that was a discussion that was going around. All right, so we're looking at, is that size right, 24 by 20?
That's
2 of them, though.
2.
Yeah, no, yeah, two,
Yeah, that's what worked out to.
two bins, 24 by 20, 2 blocks tall, which would be 4 foot tall.
Yeah.
The mulch piles were not to go above 6 foot,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So we talked about keeping it so that we don't have a giant pyramid out
Right.
there.
No, plus, it'd be harder to see at that height from the neighbors.
And the
I think the block, and maybe somebody else will remember with me, but I think we said the blocks would be 4 feet tall. So we'd allow it to be high up to 6 feet high.
Yes. Yes.
I do remember that.
Okay.
And then, I don't know if this, I'm thinking right now, whether I said it last month or not, was the contents of the mulch bins are going to stay within the bins.
You did say it, and then we did agree that's what would happen.
Because I mean, it's not fair to anyone if you wind up putting another 500 yards and have them spewing out, it defeats the purpose of even having the bins. So if just to regurgitate the dimensions on this for the record, 2 blocks tall, which is 4 foot, will be the structure of the mafia blocks, the bins, right? Each bin will be 24 foot by 20.
As drawn.
As drawn. The contents of the mulch bin shall remain within the dimensions of the mulch bin. The orientation of the proposed bins shall be,
The opening of the bins to face the center of the doorway.
okay, so the openings of the bins will be turned 45 degrees to face north and west. And shall still remain within the setback limits. See, that's where it gets tough, is because he's got that setback school. See it?
Yeah, I still believe he's got room enough to.
So he's got to kick the southwest bottom down towards the greenhouse to allow for that angle.
Right.
He must remain within the town setback, the side yard setback, and rear yard setback.
I mean, this is a maximum, if he doesn't need that much small, so we can make it small. If that's the maximum, that would be allowed.
Okay. So now, so we're in findings. As far as the use of the mulch, do you guys have any findings on that? Do you have findings on the structure? Do you have any findings on the use of the mulch, or the business of the mulch?
We did
Not
state that,
positive or negative.
we did state that it wasn't gonna be a wholesale mulch sale, it would just be to folks, retail sales.
That was stipulated by that.
The court said it's gonna be residential sales, or residential use, which, and yes, I mean, that would be a finding as well. That, sales of it will be
the bags would have been.
Do you guys feel that the sale of mulch is a customary activity that goes on in a garden center?
I do.
Um, Do we feel, I mean, it's been put on the record, that the previous owner was selling garden mulch. This would be a change of how it's sold, now that it's, it's open pile mulch. Do they still feel like it's a customary activity that goes on?
Typically, bag mulch would be something we find at a chain hardware store type of place. And if you go to a custom landscape area, you would typically be able to buy it by the truckload rather than by the bag load. Typically, from all the hardware stores and smaller mom and pop places around here, that's what I've seen.
Okay, so you guys would say, I'm just trying to put this down, it's a natural expansion or accessory to what is traditionally going on there.
Yeah, just because it's a non-conforming business use does not mean you can't grow the business. So we can't lose sight of that. I mean, there's plenty of big non-conforming operations that over the years have gotten much bigger. But they're still non-conforming.
Selling mulch is ancillary to a lawn garden center, typically fine.
Right, and it falls under, I mean, that's where now the use, not the structure of the bins, but the use of selling mulch. That's the expansion, intensification, I mean, that's the reason why we're here.
But I think, like we talked last month, instead of it just being piles now, it's an orderly fashion in a controlled kind of area. I think these just kind of spread out what we are.
Which is physically hitting from view of the neighbors.
Because quite honestly, you pile of mulch, not in the bin, right along the property line. There is no structure at that point, right?
Well, and I think we were all in agreement with that last, with discussion before, is this actually helps everyone because it places it in an area and it tries to keep it neat and orderly where it's just not going all over the place, right?
Right, which, as I stated before, this applicant's asking for it, but we know the property is for sale, the next one, whatever we do here, we want to make sure it's fair for the next person as well.
Right, and we would be fine this, because once we do this, this lives on, and so we're fine with this use of selling mulch, residentially on the back, is fine. They still have low, equipment size requirements as part of the consent order. We're not here to limit that, it's already been limited, right?
Well, I think we want to state it as part of this as well.
I would just say that they're going to comply
Because
with
the attorney says that, but the consent order only stays with
Okay.
this owner. I want it to continue to the next owner.
Right.
All right, so, do we why don't we pull that same equipment size? As,
The fairness to protect the neighbors is what it started with, and
it's, that's good. I'm sure they'll find it.
Small bobcat type machine.
yeah, it said something to that
Yeah,
effect.
I want to see how it's written. I'll even point out where it is on for the record.
While you're looking for that, it's just in my view, by making these subtle changes that we're making, in addition, we're making the property better for everybody involved. And in the future, whoever buys, whatever they do. I think, is there something you'd like to consider?
Excuse me?
Nothing.
Can I make a motion for a 5-minute recess?
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So we do have some findings and discussion on the record with us. I'd also like to add a few findings. That the applicant entered into a consent order dated 9/28/2018 with the town through the Rhode Island Superior Court. The applicant is out of compliance with the consent order, and also that it would be detrimental to grant relief sought until compliance with the consent order has been received. And then therefore, the permits are contingent upon compliance with the consent order. The consent order was dated 9/28/2018 and will be incorporated and merged into this board's decision. Would you guys like to add any more findings? Or would you like to discuss what I just said?
That's a finding or a statement?
It's a finding. Entertain that as a motion to approve those as findings of fact.
So moved.
All right, so we got a motion, and a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So, special use. Bear with us a second.
All right. Bear with me, I'm having trouble breathing.
No, yeah, Joe's a
I'm
little
all
on the
well
well.
stuffed up, I should.
Do you need me to look up the number for 911?
Yeah, maybe. Wanna speed that?
I hope that is close.
Based on the findings of facts, I move that the zoning board finds the proposed use will be compatible with the neighboring uses and will not adversely affect the surrounding neighbors' use and enjoyment of their property.
Second?
Any discussion?
I just got one comment to that. So the last finding you had,
Okay.
you're trying to incorporate into, it's our intent to incorporate in that he meets the conditions of the, or not the conditions that was set forth by the court to grant this special use permit.
Yes.
So what's our mechanism? If we grant it, then he can still do whatever he wants.
No, that's what this is doing.
Then what do we pull back? What do we have?
He has to be compliant with the consent order in order to get the special use permit.
So he cannot build anything until he becomes compliant.
That's what I said. Is that what I
I
said?
just want to make sure I'm clear, just so I'm clear.
Yes, that's
So
the
there will
way.
be no mulch bins, there will be no, the shed disappears until he becomes, he has to meet A before he can do B.
Right, so just, to oversimplify, and I hate to be this,
Don't
this is the way my brain
It's
is.
simple.
Yes.
So, Dan, you're not getting a Twinkie till you clean your liquor, right? No, I mean, that's the way my intent is he has to follow the consent order agreed upon 9/28/2018. He has to be compliant with it in order to receive this special use permit.
It just seems counterintuitive to me because we're here for that reason, and yet now we're granting him something else then.
Right, I think we should.
We're not. He has to become compliant with the consent order. If he's not, the special use permit dies. Just like his old one did in 2014. He didn't comply with it. He was actually in violation and it died. So with this, if he does not comply with the consent order, we grant him nothing.
What do we approve tonight?
Yeah, what are we correcting tonight?
we're approving the special use permit contingent on him
Subject to.
complying with the consent order.
And who's gonna verify that for us?
As I stated earlier, the town has no teeth on making him follow through with the consent order if he sells the property. So even if the new owner wants this, right, they would have to comply with the consent order. If he wants the new owner to be able to have this use that he's paid a lot of attorney fees to get, he has to comply with the consent order. Because, I mean, personally, I don't agree with giving him permission to do this while the consent order is in violation. Because then you have two totally separate things that are non-binding to each other.
So why do it?
Yeah. Why do we go
This is the
forward?
process we're in. I mean, tell me another way to go through it.
No, I'm seeing where Danny's going now, and I agree.
Yeah.
We approve it as you have it, okay? He says, well, I don't care about the special use permit, I'm just gonna do what I want, because
He still
nobody
has
can
to,
enforce it anyway.
he still has to comply with the consent order as long as he owns the property.
But you just got done saying that nobody's enforcing the consent order. So who's gonna enforce
The
the consent
council,
order?
the town manager, and the town solicitor are the ones that should be enforcing this, because he's in violation, he needs to be taken back to court. We can recommend that he go back to court because he's in violation.
So if we issue the special use permit without your contingency on there, can we force him to put up the bins and move the shed?
No. If it's the same thing with his first application in 14, if he doesn't do it, he doesn't do it, then it just goes away. Right?
I'm not understanding what your specific question is. Ron?
I'm just, with what Danny just brings, it's almost like we're wasting our time.
What is still left? There were 8 items on the consent agreement, correct? What's left to be done? I'm just looking for that clarification to know then, I think with what's been presented, it works. I'm not against what the bin or the shed, but I just don't like the idea that, you know, it's like carte blanche again. It's just,
I don't understand how. I think you're seeing it total 180 degrees of the way I'm seeing it.
I'm just seeing that, again, I think it works for the site, but yet the 8 items, I think, were on that consent agreement. What has not been met, that we're not satisfied with?
He hasn't done the work in the back, right?
Okay?
He also has not removed all of the structures that he was originally seeking dimensional violations for. Right? The big greenhouse is still there, the shed out front is still there, all those items are there. He has not moved them, okay? So they're all in violation. That's part of the consent, right? The blocks and the equipment that he's brought in over the last month should not have been there. Okay?
So why are we letting him do anything else then?
Yeah, why are we continuing this motion?
I disagree, Dan. I just think,
So then-
again, show us something.
Oh, no, okay, so, no, all right, now I'm following you when you said this, so you're not in favor?
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
You should, you know, if this is your plan, do the plan, and then we'll give you what you want, if you follow the plan.
So as we go through this,
I just disagree with the condition that allows him to do what he wants to do, and what's to say the neighbor's not gonna come back in 2 months and say that the big greenhouse is still there, that was supposed to be moved. It's kind of like, again, back to your analogy of kids, you know,
Yeah,
the pattern establishes itself, and there's a pattern here.
so those other items are still in violation, and they still don't comply, regardless of our decision, right? The big shed, the big greenhouse and the other shed, they're in violation, those stay with the land, unlike this, the consent order. When the findings I read in there will now bind that consent order with our decision, and that will be with the property. The consent order will now be attached to the property. Right? Does that?
No, I see where you're coming from. Again, if I hadn't sat here 3 years ago, or 5 years ago, and 2 years ago, and now, I said, all right, we'll give the guy on his word. But it just, yeah, kind of. beating a dead horse. Go ahead, you go ahead with your motion.
I'm not done yet. It's a good point that you're bringing up, and I don't, I'm not arguing with you on it at all. Ronnie, go ahead.
If we don't give a special use permit for the mulch beds, can we, if we don't do anything tonight, is he allowed to bring mulch in at all?
Is it an expansion of the pre-existing non-conforming use? Bag mulch and open air mulch and piles?
That's a decision to make.
Well, where I'm going with this is the fact that nothing gets done where it's supposed to get done.
Yeah, on this one.
If we don't allow him to bring in bulk mulch, and just allow him, can we allow him just to do bag mulch like it was for years? And the blocks, let the consent order be finished, and then if he wants to come back in front for.
Show us that he's cleaned his room.
Right. Do we have the authority to limit it to just the bags? And an amount of bags?
So,
That's what's the consent order.
again, let's. So, within 45 days, this is item 1 of the consent order. Within 45 days, you shall dismantle and remove from premises the 5 unauthorized storage bins on exhibit 1. No other bins will be located on the premises unless or until leave to do so may be granted by the zoning board of review without prejudice. Following further application by the defendants after the 5 bins are dismantled within a 45-day period, the defendant may temporarily store the blocks from the dismantled bins. My pages are not in order. Okay. I don't have, somebody, there was a page missing. All right, so we may temporarily store the blocks and dismantled bins on the premises at a location to be determined by the town deputy zoning official. So he did that. I'm not sure that it was within the 45 days of the time. So item 2, within 45 days of the sold, the defendant shall remove from the premises all material that had been located within said bins, as well as all other raw materials that have been imported, maintained, stored, or stockpiled in, to, or upon the premises for commercial purposes, for processing purposes, and/or for other unauthorized purposes, and subject to the approval of the zoning board of review without prejudice. Upon further application by the defendant therefore may be authorized to import and maintain upon the premises, and only to be utilized by the defendant's pre-existing non-conforming garden center operation under such terms and conditions as might be specified by the zoning board of review. A limited amount of mulch materials and other materials as may be allowed in the discretion of said zoning board. So, those two, the first 2 items are more focused on the mulch. Pretty much told us, we're gonna tell them what we're gonna allow. Yes. In all regards, if he's gonna have mulch, if he's gonna have them bins, how much or none. It's up to us.
Okay.
So the first 2 is he compliant with that right now?
No. Just piles of mulch there. They haven't been removed from the premises. The mulch bins, the blocks were stockpiled, but now he's had equipment in there moving. There's nothing in this that says that he brings the equipment back on the property. We had to contact the town manager to bring the heavy equipment, the big stuff. If he was, when he was going to start the remediation work in the back, not for anything else. It's my understanding that he sought, or he contacted the town manager about propane. And again, it's my understanding that the equipment's been there for over a month, and it was being moved today. And as Councilor Capello said, she saw stuff out there. And the neighbor county said the same. So, I mean, just on those two items, he's not compliant. There's large piles of mortars that were on premises that were supposed to be removed. If you go into,
Before you go any further,
okay,
so instead of even doing anything with a special use permit, that consent order says that we have the authority to tell them that there can be no mulch there, until which time that he complies with the consent order.
we can do that and end it right now.
Well, that's the ultimate goal, is to get back into compliance. If you're telling me that he can sell the property, then the other people get stuck with the mess, which I don't quite understand. I don't know how the town couldn't go after him even at that point, after the sale. Consent order's against him.
Yes.
So even if it gets sold, the town lawyer should be able to take him back to court for non-compliance.
Another person's non-compliant?
No,
It's
his.
still his non-conforming.
Oh, for back. Yes, I see what you're saying.
If he tries to settle that quick tomorrow, so he doesn't have to finish the consent order,
Okay.
the town still has the authority, because that's a judge's order,
Mm-hmm.
to go back to court and say, this guy skated without doing it, and force him to go back and do it.
Yes.
So, my opinion is, to end this, we stop letting them have mulch or anything until which time he comes into compliance. And then we'll bring him back next month if he does what he's supposed to do, and issue the special use permit.
The Superior Court gave you the authority to do it, and actually, Mr. Sherman agreed to you having that authority.
Well, I was hoping we didn't have to use it, but here we are 180 days later. And I agreed with some of the statement that, you know, you can't plant in the middle of winter. I'm good with all that, but we're back in the planting season by the time our next meeting rolls around. There's no reason why this can't be all done and complied with, and then we'll finish with it then. But now, everything stops that we're allowed to control.
Want to form an into motion for us?
I make a motion, whatever we can control as part of the consent order. No mulch, what was the other items? No bag form, no open form?
Well, do we need to get that detail, or just put it as non-compliance and let it live on its own?
No, we need to.
Do it, all right, so we were.
So the mulch was one.
We already on the motion. We do need to, let's not.
You can do it, all right.
Okay, I withdraw my motion.
We just started.
I make a motion, we dispense with all finding the fact and any more movement on the special use permit.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I make a motion, we go through, but the mulch, I make a motion that he's not allowed to have any mulch of any type, bag or otherwise, on the property, to which time he comes with compliance. What's the other item we control?
Compliance with the consent order issue.
Compliance with the consent order that agreed upon and issued, Mr. Sharon.
Second.
Do you want to add more? I just want to slow down so it goes.
No, that's what I want.
That's a motion, right, Ronnie?
That's a motion.
Second.
Hold on that one.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now, what was the other stuff we controlled?
All right, so now we'll look at, can I have those, because it seems to be missing stuff, sorry. So item 3 is the defendant shall immediately cease all material screening, processing, stockpiling, and/or related transportation activities upon the premises that are not authorized in an RFR 80 zone under applicable zoning laws and regulations within the town of Hopkinton. And then the fourth one.
I make a motion that before allowing any mulch to be put back on the property, before the special use permit goes forward, that we do a site visit to prove Or, better yet, we can just ask Dave to do it, to go down there and prove that the consent order has been adhered to.
Dave being zoning official.
Dave being the zoning official. That way it can be done during the week, doesn't have to wait for us, blah, blah, blah.
So Dave will be the eyes for this board and improve compliance with
Correct.
item 3 of the,
Dave will be the eyes,
yes.
not the town manager, not the town council, not anybody else.
And he will report his.
That's my motion.
He will report his findings to us.
To you,
Yeah.
and then you will report it to us.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The fourth item is the defendant shall immediately and permanently remove from the premises all equipment, vehicles, trailers previously used in conjunction with activities described in paragraph 3 above of this order, subject to the approval of the zoning board of review. Thereafter, may maintain on the premises one small bobcat type of machine under such terms and conditions as specified by the zoning board of review without prejudice and in its discretion. That's it. So again, the court is allowing us to allow him or not to have a bobcat to handle an activity that we may let him do.
Well, I don't think we need to do anything with that, because we're not allowing them to have mulch until which time he comes in compliance. And at that point, he'll present to us what machine he plans on using, size and type, and then we'll okay it at the special use criteria.
There should be a motion, there's no
equipment. No equipment at all beyond the site.
I'm gonna get on those trucks, gentlemen.
There's no more
Unless-
discussion.
Forklift.
No equipment will be allowed on the site unless it's there for the purpose of complying with the consent order.
The consent order also states this is not part of your thing. The consent order states how these details and how he needs to inform the town.
Right, he needs to notice the town manager, that's all.
And that's part of the consent.
Right. And I gotta assume if he notices the town manager, he notices the zoning office, correct? The town manager does. We can make that part of the motion, that the town manager has to.
I would like that in there, because we were unaware of all this stuff this morning.
Seems to me though, kind of handcuff them, if you've got a garden center you're trying to operate right now, you have to have a small tractor to unload vegetation that's coming in, you know, i.e. plants and shrubs and stuff. That, in our 30 zone, that's allowed by right on a tractor. I'm not saying a 50 horsepower, but something.
Not to be argumentative, but we gave him every opportunity in the world to come in compliance. He's made his bed, he's gonna lie, he has to lie. All he has to do is comply with this ordinance, this consent order, and within, as far as I'm concerned, if he complies tomorrow and Dave's satisfied that it's compliant, it can go back to mulch as usual. And then we'll hear the rest of the next one.
The order is very detailed. It says if we allow it, one small bobcat style machine. If we allow it.
Yeah, but we gotta, our motion's gotta allow him to have the equipment necessary to meet, to fix the
The
items
intent
that.
of the agreement, yes.
Consent order.
And that does further him, but he has to do a notification to the town manager.
So do we need a motion to clarify that? We've already stated that nothing can happen.
I think I would just throw it in there and let's just follow through with it. I mean, we're just reaffirming what's already there.
All right, so how do you want that motion? Because I'm a little confused.
So I would entertain a motion, because Ronnie elaborated on that, as stated in the consent agreement on item 4, the defendant should have, from the time of this agreement, immediately and permanently removed from the premises all equipment, vehicles, and trailers previously used in conjunction with activities described in paragraph 3 above, which was the use of mulch and processing and everything else. And that the zoning board shall not permit the use of any equipment until this agreement is in compliance. And any equipment that will be used in the remediation work will be allowed as stated in the agreement under, I believe it's under item 8, where he shall contact the town manager.
He shall, it says he shall notice the town manager.
Within
And we're
5
gonna
days.
add that the town manager then needs to notify Dave, or the zoning official, to which he will also notify the chairman of the zoning.
That's something that I found was lacking in this agreement. So when the town manager, if he was made aware, the zoning official and the board was not made aware. And because there needs to be timelines on this stuff. The court put timelines on things they weren't complied with. And agreeing with where Dan was coming from, and granting permission without being in
Let me
violation.
so move that motion.
Okay.
Let's leave it a second.
So we have a motion on the table as Ron just moved. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Well, is there any
All
questions?
discussion, I'm sorry, I skipped discussion.
Yeah, no, clear, just I think it's, you're right, it is addressing the consent agreement, by the same token, it seems to be out of track, so I'm against it. I'm against your motion, I just vote against it.
Okay.
Well,
No,
I'm not following you.
I think we're just trying to, like, micromanage. I realize it is to try to remediate what he has there, we're allowing the tractor to be there, but it's also spring. And again, I've said plenty of times, I'm not making my argument for him, but, you know, a tractor, I have 2 tractors in my yard, so I just think it's open out, they have the tractors.
No, my only point, and I see where Dave, I don't want to put the guy out of business, but on the same token, we've done everything to try to get him to do what needs to be done, and nothing has been done the way it was supposed to. I mean, you know, this zoning board has never had to take somebody to court before to get something done. It's the first time in the, 15, 17 years I've been on it.
So let's keep.
But anyway, sorry, but that's just my thing.
That's fine, sorry, so we had a motion on the floor, the second, Dan voted against it, all others vote
Aye.
aye, so that's a 4-1. So that was on item 4, so if we move to item 5 on the consent agreement, the defendants are permanently restrained and enjoined from bringing onto the premises any material, rocks, debris, or other products for processing, stockpiling, or for any other commercial purpose or use other than what mulch intended for residential purposes as may be specified and allowed by the zoning board of review without prejudice and its discretion.
This is my understanding, I hear he took all the rocks and stuff out of it, correct?
Yeah, and the berm's been built,
Yeah.
just waiting for
I think
trees.
yeah. But I think that he did comply with, correct?
The mulch is there.
Okay, I have not this legislation, I'll base it on.
There's a couple big piles of mulch there on the property. And again, it's up to the board to allow any of the mulch there. We didn't allow it yet. Mulch was supposed to have been moved, it wasn't moved. The other material and stuff was the gravel and stone and things like that. And again, the court left us at our discretion. And this is another chicken and egg thing. We're not allowing mulch. So I would just make this, or entertain, I can't make it, so I would just entertain a simple motion that item 5 of the consent order needs to come in compliance with all the previous numbers of this consent order before we discuss it. We're not approving anything. I mean, the mulch is on the property, he's in violation of that one too.
So moved.
Need a second?
Second.
And my reason for that is, none of what's in that consent order that's left is a big deal. and I'm gonna finish the motion after, but, you know, like I said, I don't think anybody's more pro-business than me. And it's just too much, too long.
Okay, so we have
But I'm
a,
gonna make a motion at the end that's gonna help him if he listens. So finish what we're doing.
all right, so we have a motion on the floor, we have a second, all in favor? Aye.
Yes.
Okay. So, item 6, within 30 days of this order, which was December 28th, so by October 28th, the defendant shall cease and desist from maintaining and/or operating from the premises all or any part of any landscaping business that is or may be in violation of the Hopkinton zoning ordinances table use categories 160, 161, 421, and/or 422, or otherwise not allowed in an R80 zone under applicable zoning ordinances or regulations within the town of Hopkinton, and shall further permanently remove from the premises any vehicles and/or equipment used in conjunction with any landscaping business or operation.
Which has been done already.
Equipment showed back up inside there for a month. He did call the town manager to grade the money there.
Yeah, it snowed for a week and a half, whatever. Again, not making excuses, but maybe the circumstances we're not aware of.
Yeah, but that, it doesn't matter, Danny. What matters is from today on. Yeah, if he had it there the last month, fix it, that's not our fault, or not our problem. It's gonna be our problem from tonight on, because we're gonna send Dave down to make sure that this stuff gets done. You know what I'm saying? I'm not holding it against him because he had to fix his gas pipe. You know?
I mean, it's a common thing to have to repair the property. If you have a septic issue or something like that, you have to call someone in to repair, and equipment's gonna show up. But unfortunately,
Unfortunately, they stay there too.
no, I may, but unfortunately, under the circumstances where we've been misled so many times, we're in a situation where now we have to be super strict. And it stinks, because we're a very open and courteous board, and the time I've been here, I've seen us do nothing but jump through hoops for people. And it really stinks to have to sit on the side of being, a killer right on this. And to be in agreement with Ronnie on most of this is actually
That's
shocking.
pretty, it was a Kodak moment.
It really is, because he and I are usually going at it on stuff.
No, because I'm usually the lenient one. That's the way it
We're having a
is.
bizarre world moment, but that's okay.
All right, so we're out.
So, again, this went into his equipment with the landscaping business. Within 30 days, he had to been compliant. I mean, I would just entertain a motion that he should have within 30 days of the consent order complied with item 6.
What if we just cut to the end at this point?
Yeah.
Well,
We've
you've
already-
got 2 left.
Yeah, but we've already restricted, the mulch is a big part of this business that he's gonna need from April. We've already restricted that. If we make a motion now to allow our zoning official to work on our behalf, to go down and make sure, if he says tomorrow, calls Dave and says, I finished, I'm done today, I'm in compliance, I'd like to give Dave the authority to go check it out, make sure he is, and then allow him to go back to business as usual.
That includes the removal of the buildings?
No, because that's part of our special use permit that we're probably gonna grant, if we could get him to comply to the concerns.
Oh, the greenhouse, big greenhouse.
Oh, yes, he's got several structures.
Oh, I'm sorry, talking about the shed.
No.
He's got all of the other
Whatever's in the
structures in
consent order.
violation.
Whatever's in the consent order.
Well, that's the thing, we're 2 different things. He asked for special use permits and variances originally. 2/3 of those variances were withdrawn, right?
I thought he already agreed, and I thought they were taking down the ones that were in violation.
I don't think they're down there.
They're off the plan, or they're proposed to be taken down.
They verbally agreed to being removed, but they're not down there. So we need to put a timeline on that, right? 'Cause-
But that would have been part of the special use permit.
No,
No, it would have been part of the dimensional variance, which was rescinded.
All right, so we're within our rights to enforce
I
that.
think it's actually item 7 on the consent.
Oh, then
so, that's why I was letting you finish on that, because it gets into the sheds and stuff. But Attorney Camoli withdrew all of those dimensions and special uses for those other items, other than the two, the little shed and the multi. So all of those are in violation, they must be removed. They're not on the agenda for hearings, they're not.
But if we just make a motion that everything in the consent order has to come in compliance, then they go.
They already have to go anyway, but you
No,
know, but,
They're in the consent order, so they have to go.
Right, he agreed.
Right, so why, we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
that's fine.
We just say that we're gonna give our zoning officer the authority to let him get right back into business without waiting for another one of our meetings, if he comes in full compliance to that order.
All right, so item
Are you
7.
comfortable with taking that responsibility?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I do have one question regarding the engineered surface for the runoff. Has that been resolved with you guys?
Let's wait and get to that in a second.
Okay,
Not because you're just jumping ahead a little bit.
I'm sorry.
Well, I was trying to end it with one motion, but yes, if there's something specific you're worried about.
You don't want a motion through 7 with the sheds
Well,
and the
I was gonna make a motion that he could go back to business as usual if he complies with the consent order. And they,
That's the last one is a wild card, though, Ronnie.
okay, well, let's go with the last one.
Yeah, but 7, make your motion on that for the buildings,
Okay, make a motion for the buildings
to be in compliance
to
with
be in compliance.
consent agreement. That means the greenhouses shall be moved on.
So that's the problem. If to be in compliance with the consent order, they already are not in compliance. Within 60 days, he had
Yeah,
this.
but we're putting teeth in, you can't worry about the 16 days at all. We're saying tonight, we're starting tonight saying the guy can't do mulch, and everything else we're saying he can't do until each time he comes into compliance.
And then, we will set the timeline up here.
I think Ronnie said if the guy came in compliance tomorrow, then you'd be saying, all right, he's coming.
Tomorrow, next week, a year from now, we need to.
Well, no, we put it on the agenda, and review it next week. Yeah, I don't,
Yeah, but no, see,
I
now,
gotta imagine
but
that-
hang on, because I think you're opening a can of worms, because now you're saying if he's in compliance, but we're gonna have another reading, but then if he's not in compliance, he's in violation of this today, and this is going on for
I
6
understand that,
months.
but we're doing all we are allowed to do. Are you missing that point?
No, we're not.
Of course we are.
No, we're
The
not.
town has to do the
The
rest.
town needs to, because he's already in violation. You're changing this order by doing what you're doing, is the way I'm understanding, because now you're giving him another 30 days. These things are already in violation. The town should be moving up to Superior Court and taking him, just based on this sold. If I'm wrong, am I right?
You're both right.
Oh, damn.
John, you are 100% right. The town can go tomorrow and file a motion to adjudge him in contempt of that order. You are correct. That, however, that order, Mr. Sherman and the town and the judge granted you guys the authority to allow mulch, not allow mulch. So in that instance, you're right. So I don't believe Ronnie is allowing further time. He's rather instilling a consequence for not being in compliance, which the court has allowed you to do. So if you do that, if he comes into compliance, the consequence goes away. If he remains not compliant, he has no mulch.
Which is a big part of it.
Right, but myself, I want a time limit attached to it.
And excuse me for jumping, there's no need for that, because if he doesn't have
If he's not compliant, it doesn't matter. If he's not compliant, it doesn't matter.
If he's not compliant, the city, the town can do whatever they want. They can go tomorrow or whatever they want. However, he will not be able to have mulch on his property until he's compliant.
Now,
Mulch of any type,
Now,
mulch of any,
Bag or green.
no, mulch to even plant his own plants.
okay.
Yeah.
No, I.
Do you understand
I'm
where we are
fine.
here?
Yep.
It's time to finish what needs to be, should have been finished 3 years ago.
I'll let you finish the motion.
Well, that's what my motion was, that
Okay.
until he comes, no mulch, period, that was my motion. until which time that he comes in compliance with the whole consent order. But I want to allow, you know, I don't want to kill the guy, but I want him to, that's why I want Dave to be able to go inspect and say, okay, you finally did comply, we'll let your business as usual, or as permitted. I don't want him to have to wait 30 days to come see us again if he finishes it by next Friday. I know it's a tall order.
Well, no, but by saying that, then you're granting the special use permit contingent.
No, I'm not.
No, it's just saying he can go back and do what he's doing.
Oh, going back to the original.
Mulch, the bag mulch that the place always had.
Okay, all right. No, now I'm following, not.
Not mulch
Not the
beds,
proposed
we're
use.
not giving him any bulk mulch storage, we're not giving him any of that. We're giving what he used to have and what they had before.
No expansion.
No experience until she comes back in front of us.
So that would be pre-2014 sales materials?
We're just specify, I thought the motion was clear before,
That's,
but
no, that's from the.
that just, you know, that, we'll let him get back to bag mulch as it was before, that was my motion.
All right, just for discussion purposes, that handles 7 of them, 8 being the one that Dave, for the building official, just talked about, which is the engineering and drainage, which you guys all kind of have a little problem with in terms of stamped by a professional engineer. Obviously, that's something, it is part of the consent, but how are you tackling that?
Let's finish 7.
Okay, I thought Ryan was doing the whole thing.
I thought I was doing the whole thing, so if we got an issue with that specific one, let's talk about it before we finish the motion.
You want to do an 8 too?
Yeah, the one, yeah, that is 8 the one with the professional engineer? Well, let's read it.
You money awards, because you got, I would just make a decision on just 7. And then let's move to 8 and make a 9. All right, because you're mixing things. So we have a motion on the floor.
Second.
On item 7, just stated. We have a second from Dan. Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, let's move to 8. So 8 on the consent agreement is within 90 days of this order or such time to be determined by the discretion of the zoning board, and subject to terms and conditions set forth by the zoning board without prejudice, with the understanding that the defendant will not be expected to replace the trees they have already lawfully cut and removed from the premises. The defendant shall submit to the zoning board of review for consideration specific design plans to restore and adequately remediate the conditions on the premises that have been disturbed since April 1st, 2014, including 1, the installation of vegetative and/or fence screening along the northeasterly boundary with the premises, such as Plat 23, Lot 3A, and then currently owned by Raymond R. Mazinski, and 2, install engineered surface water runoff and drainage measures along said boundary area that will once again direct the flow of surface water through the existing culvert under the cul-de-sac situated on the adjacent property, such as Plat 23, Lot 3A, and otherwise restore the flow of the surface water runoff so that it substantially recreates similar conditions to those that existed within this area as of April 1st, 2014. Defendants may not bring onto the premises any excavators, heavy trucks, or other equipment to accomplish the remedial work set forth here within 5 days, notice to the town manager. And no such remedial work shall be done at any times other than Mondays through Fridays between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. All right. And as Dan said, that's where, I was questioning the difference between a surveyor's plan, or plot plan, and engineered surface water runoff and drainage measures. A surveyor's not an engineer, and I know, Dan can speak to that.
Well, it would seem to me that he made a good faith effort to build a plan and to show that on paper what he's proposing to do. But I believe at the meeting, Mr. Camoli and maybe Mr. Mazinski were going to try to get their engineers together, if I remember right, and figure out a way to, that they were both going to agree upon on how the water was going to get across Mr. Mazinski's property, which apparently is always done.
Correct. in last meeting, Attorney Kamali said that Mr. Mazinski's engineer or Mr. Mazinski would have his engineer speak with Mr. Sherman's.
Not,
Am I wrong?
I don't remember.
It sounded like there was no there was no progress with engineers, making a master plan because they had to enter Mr. Mazinski's property.
Well, then, would that be the case?
You have it right.
Would that be the case? My opinion is that what's shown on this plan is adequate. As long as it's done to the plan, I'm comfortable with the water runoff.
I agree with that.
If Mr. McKinney
Mazinski.
didn't want to play ball, then this plan shows me that they are sending the water the way it naturally always went. And I've been on the property, and I've been on both properties. And there was always a water issue in that house. And I also spoke to the previous owner who built it, Don McCumsky, and he had water in it when he built it. So I never believed from day one that what the Shermans did on that property added to his water problem. And they're already making it better for his water problem if they follow this plan.
I believe it was testimony that this berm has already been built, and I believe there's some vegetation on it, correct?
Yeah, I think the testimony went that there was some stuff that couldn't be planted until next month.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm good with the print.
And I don't disagree with you. I actually think that all the applicant can do is control what's on his property. How it leaves his property due to topography at that rate, once he's done the remediation work on his own property, that's all he can do.
And it's not like he's creating any more impervious area back there. We approved a barn or a shed or a garage, whatever it was, several years ago, which would have created impervious area. Now, that's going to be maintained as a green space based on the consent agreement and based on whatever happens here going forward.
And I agree with the plan, that it raises the topography with the berm, and the swale moves the water from the rear of the property down to almost the middle of the property, and puts it more in the direction of the natural flow that it was doing in the past.
Or whatever it's done for.
You know, just for the record, in 2015, give or take, the basement flooded. I went down with a fire department, we pumped his basement. He tried to, Mazinski tried to show me that the problem was caused by what Mr. Sherman was doing. In my professional opinion, I walked the whole piece with him, even Mr. Sherman's property. And I didn't believe at that time that anything that he had done then increased the water issue in his basement. So by doing this, he's even making it 100-fold better.
So Ronnie, for the record, we all know it, but it doesn't get put on paper. What's your profession?
Construction. Grading, water caustic, I do it every day.
For the record, Dan, what's your profession?
Surveyor.
Okay. No, I just want that on the record. Two of our board members, we have the luxury of, this is what they do for a living, and they understand this. So, in my own personal opinion, I think the plan is sufficient. What's going on the property, I don't know, because our eyes have not been on. I would think that our building official needs to go out there, get a visual on it, see what's been done and what needs to be done.
Mr. Chairman, I was out there, I don't think he's changed the topography at all, it doesn't look like any of the water's been changed in different directions. Maybe the vegetation
Was there a berm built?
There's a little berm there, yes.
The berm was a little,
How tall was the berm?
I don't think I know. That's what it was, right? Yeah.
Yeah, top berm over.
He's not, this plan,
The swale.
yeah, the plan doesn't call for a lot of grade change, so I don't know what you would actually see. I mean, you go out there on a heavy rain, like tomorrow, you probably could see where the water's running, and if it's running the way the plan says.
So back around Christmas time, I was out there and did a site visit before one of our meetings. And there was, the culvert part of it was cleaned out and it was lined on the edge with stones about it. Yeah, not, well, it was more like field stones. And they were lined like a single stone edge. I don't know the depth of it, I mean, there was a lot of snow and ice on the ground, but there was some form of trench there, as far as it complied with the location on the plan.
Oh, it's only 1 foot, the berm is 1 foot plus or minus, so you're not gonna see a lot.
I didn't know
Because
this.
his property is already higher in elevation
Was there something about the
than Sherman's property.
property line ones on
Yeah,
higher?
Brzezinski's property is already higher.
Higher.
Yeah, the spot elevation out in Mazinski's property is 100, 99.2, 99.2. Then you get down to Sherman's side, he's down at 97,
96, 97.
7, so it was already naturally there. But he did the berm, right? You saw the berm?
I didn't notice the berm.
Well, 1 foot, unless you're specifically looking for it, 1 foot you're not gonna see.
I noticed the trench with stones, and I don't know if I still have pictures of it.
Oh,
I think at one of the meetings, I actually.
we can just have it, they can just verify that.
Well, that's what I wanted them to do.
I make a motion that item 8 of the consent agreement has been satisfied in terms of the plans that are provided, and it's just a matter of how they're implemented.
So I'm actually showing the board the pictures that I took at home.
Should have a berm and a swale, doesn't it? Well, it's not a swale, it's a depression.
The pictures I took were December 20th of 2018.
Yeah.
And I believe I put this in the record back.
Yeah.
I think you did.
If I didn't, Mrs. Lees did. That should be what it's, but again, a 1 foot berm in that, it wouldn't jump out at me.
Well, just the adjoining property is higher than Mr. Schuman's property, so you would seem it to be the other way, onto Mr. Schuman's property.
Well,
I mean, I would like to say that, the work that is done is helping to move that water along the property line and get it beyond Mr. Mazinski's home. It doesn't clear up water that's on his own property, nor should the applicant have to do that.
It's probably not a high water table there, right?
I would, oh, definitely. I mean, that house always had water, ever since Don McCusker built it. So,
I got a motion on the table.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do we put any timelines on it? Just let it.
well,
Did you want to wrap up?
that way we can discuss it then, and they can report to us.
Go on, consent on the
Special use.
entertain a motion to continue the petition to the next meeting.
Second. Second.
Any discussion? What do you guys want to discuss? All right, all in favor?
Aye. Aye. Excellent.
All right, so,
I didn't hear anything before all the favors, so I don't know if you were conversing. I mean, I didn't get what you were talking about.
no,
We just
Oh, all
continue,
right.
you got that? That we,
we just, all right, so we continue the petition to next.
the motion was to continue the commission. Petition. Dave, are you comfortable with your charge on this?
Yeah, Mr. Sherman will contact me when
Again,
the consent is completed, and I can go out and verify it.
yep. I got something to say, if you have a minute, please.
I don't think there's no more discussion at this point.
No, it's not that,
Unless you
it's
guys wanna-
explaining something, that's all it is. Because I did call the town manager, he told me to call Dave, and I did contact Dave, so I did call Dave and contact him to verify about the equipment going up there. And the mulch piles are there for the
Yeah,
shrubs in the
we're-
back, and that's all.
We're okay with that anyway.
Okay, well, I'm making sure you know what, I did contact
Yes,
him.
we're okay with that. Just, Just work with Dave now. As fast as you get it done, Terry, he's gonna let you go back to business as usual. Okay?
That's right.
All right. So, Dave, what's up? Do the minute, and then I want to talk about something in the business.
Okay. Make a motion to accept the,
Oh, yeah, she's on. Thanks, thank you. Good to see you again.
so make a motion to accept the zoning board review meeting minutes from February 21st, 2019.
Can I offer something real quick? Stop on the minutes.
Absolutely.
There was one of the petitions I recused myself from, and on the minutes, it lists sitting for the petition, because it starts with who's present.
Which one?
It doesn't matter, I'm saying going forward, would it be appropriate that if you do recuse yourself, there's a notation of that in the minutes? Because Mr. Harrington did it tonight, and I think it would be appropriate, so it's clear for the record that he's actually recusing himself. Because it clearly notes in each petition who sat for that position. I think we should also say who recused themselves.
That's a good point.
No, that's a solid point, because if it ever got somewhere else.
No, I approve it, exactly, I appreciate that, because I want documentation that you refuse it, is that an issue? Do you know where in this, so we can make an amendment to it?
Well, I just thought for going forward, but on this particular one, Dan, you sat out for
Yeah.
Ponte, so you were petition,
Yeah.
Petition 3, is that what we're doing?
Yeah, petition 3.
and I recused on petition 1.
Just so I'm clear when I do this. So even if he is an alternate, you want me to mark that he recuses himself?
Anybody that recuses themselves from any petition needs to be put in the
Okay.
minutes that Dan, I'm just using him for an
Yeah,
example. Dan is recusing himself from petition
Gotcha.
such and such.
Okay.
So at any given time, 100 years from now, somebody say, oh yeah, Dan Harrington, he bailed out, ran right out the door. So to speak.
Well, we're filing with the Ethics Commission whether we're hearing the petition or not.
Yeah.
So the mere presence on this board, the recusal itself triggers the action.
Well, we need to keep track of it, so if it ever come up that Danny sat on something he shouldn't have,
This way.
we can prove that,
He did.
no, he did.
All right, so could we entertain a motion that, well, we have a motion on the floor. You want
To accept the minutes.
to accept the minutes, well, not as written. So,
How about
you want-
as amended?
As a,
well, we have to amend them to show those two. Are you comfortable with where the amendment needs to go?
that was last month's.
Oh, not this one? You're talking last one?
Yeah, 'cause this
And this one.
No, I think he's talking about this one as well.
Yeah, he was willing to let last month's go, but from here on,
Right.
right?
We don't have
Yeah.
last meetings yet, so we're gonna-
No, I'm sorry, no, last one, no, we're on early, now who's on first? Which one, so this, these minutes need to be amended.
Okay.
Well, Danny said he was comfortable with it.
No, he said he's comfortable with the other minutes, didn't you, Dan?
Yeah, I said that would change it, I just said
Okay.
going forward.
Going forward, that means today.
So,
Got it.
next
Okay.
month's meeting.
All right,
Okay.
today, going forward, today.
All right, so motion's on the floor to accept the minutes of February 21st, 2019.
So,
So we got a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yep.
What did I say?
Right.
Yeah, yeah, you, yeah.
All right, sorry, get long, get punchy.
Just one second, back to petition 2, we're going to continue that next month, we should be tabled it earlier, right?
Oh, yes, all right, so we haven't done, so, could I entertain a motion to move petition 2 to next month? Let's just keep it on the phone right now.
Yeah. So,
Um,
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Just for discussion, in the minutes from last month, it said that they were going to be on
Yeah.
the market agenda. Steve, could you reach out to them?
No, we're talking about. No,
Lewis,
yeah, Lou Ray, just to ask them what their intent is. You know, if they want us to, if they want to go ahead and reapply, or,
You come up with some good things, David, maybe you should try getting a law degree.
I would just be happy to have coffee.
All right, where are we? Wow. We need to clarify.
Yeah, if you have a attorney came back.
We need to clarify how, we need to stop attorneys thinking they can go to the town manager for relief.
Well, I don't disagree. The problem you have, I think anybody can call anybody about any, at any time.
That's fine, but they can't take any action. We need to, the attorneys coming in front of us need to understand the only place they can come get relief is here.
Right.
And letters not released, letters are not acceptable if you're just not gonna show up. I mean, if you actually want to continue, somebody, a representative should come and ask for it.
And I think
Unless somebody disagrees.
I think,
I'll listen to reason.
no, and I affirm that as well, because I think I made that point clear to Liz this morning, and Tiana, that if an attorney is asking for continuance, just the mere fact of asking does not mean it's granted. It has to be done in a timely manner so that this board, the zoning official, our solicitor, the zoning solicitor has time to allow it or not. Doing it at the 19th hour, 10 o'clock this morning, and just making an assumption that we're going to do it yet again, for probably the dozenth time, I can't say that, for over a dozen times. Dozens, yeah, that even, but, is just, and especially with what's going on, it's not a book.
But it's not the first time an attorney has tried to circumvent the board by going through the language office.
Right.
It might have been the same attorney, but.
Right. They don't go through the zoning official either. They're asking this board, they're not asking a town official, they're not asking the town council, they're not asking the clerk. They need to ask this board. That needs to be forwarded to us, which it did, right? The correspondence that was between the town solicitor, not the zoning solicitor, was appropriate in response. He kicked it back. That was our decision to allow him to allow. And I will give him credit for that.
Oh, no, I got no issues with
Right.
that.
So, I mean, but I totally agree. I don't like it. I didn't like it before. This was going on in other cases.
No, I've complained about this before. This ain't the first go around.
And I don't think that we've ever made that big of a mention of it, but tonight we are, and that's something I will
So
hold on to.
do we as a board need to authorize you to send a memo to the town manager and any other department you deem necessary, how we want continuances to be asked for?
Wouldn't it be better to set a parameter? If the people don't know what the rules are, they're not gonna be able to.
That's what I'm trying to do, Dave.
So
I'm
instead
trying to
of-
set a rule.
Yeah, but instead of directing them, why doesn't the chairman would have the ability through this board to enact some type of procedural mechanism that says it's presumed that continuances will not be granted, period. However, exceptions will be made if they're channeled through the zoning official's office.
I would be comfortable with them go through the zoning officer to the chairman, or whoever's acting in his capacity if he's out of town, which would be the vice chairman. You know, not to have to drag an attorney here that night, but it can't be done at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
You would think lawyers that come before us, I've seen quite a few in the year, two years I've been here, they know there's some kind of sequence of events, chain of command, where you would not just walk in and say, hey, but I can't make it tonight, and drop the ball on Jonathan and the rest of us. I mean, I concur, and I think there probably should be something where Jonathan sits down and says, hey, X, Y, Z, with town lawyer, town solicitor, town manager, and town council president. So this way we don't run into this.
So the only issue, and Matt can correct me with this, is this board is a democracy. We vote on what we do. right? So if we're going to allow a continuance, we do as a board, not as me, not dictator, right? And it's not right for me outside of these chambers to make that decision unilaterally, or even contact you guys. Am I going to contact them and say, hey, he's seeking a continuance? Because now I'm taking a solicited vote over email.
Yes, and it would be a meeting happening without notice to the public.
That's why I don't have a particular issue with the chairman. You know, we gotta look at it from the person's point of view too. If one of our taxpayers has hired an attorney, and for whatever reason they can't make it, I don't wanna have to drag the attorney out who's gonna charge our taxpayer for no reason, if he could just simply follow whatever chain of command that we come up with. So I'm comfortable with you making that decision. I'm not comfortable with a town manager thinking that he can make that decision.
Well, he didn't, and
I understand that. We need a better chain of command.
So
Do they go through Dave to you or whatever? That's what I'm talking
well, typically what's happened in the past was they would go to the zoning official or the zoning solicitor and say, hey, I can't make it, because a lot of attorneys have court-allowed absences because they're in court for some reason, and they might be in another town, another state. I mean, that's happened with several attorneys. So they have to have an excuse because it's a court-allowed. If they blow smoke up our, you know what, and just tell us that time and time again, that's where in this, and I don't read it half the time, applicant or representative present. So the representative is typically the attorney, but the applicant can by all means come in. They can send their grandmother and just say, I'm sorry, Sally couldn't make it tonight, the attorney couldn't make it, we're asking for a continuance, right?
But I would still think that a process of a heads up, and I'm comfortable through Dave and our solicitor's office, to you that, oh, by the way, they're gonna be, somebody's gonna come in and ask for
Is one of Liz's roles to be secretary to the board?
Yes.
So would that not be her role to make sure that all information goes through her to you guys?
She does.
Well, it does, I mean, that's what
That's
it is.
Yeah, but we need a set of time parameter. I'm just tired of it.
Well, the other
being at
thing
the last
too
minute.
is if somebody can't show for whatever reason, and there's a hearing that night, and you're inconveniencing people that may want to testify as well. So it can't be done at the last minute.
Well, we got
So
two
once you
lawyers.
get a notice, people are coming here to testify for or against a certain case, and if it's not good, they wasted their time.
Good point, and that does happen a lot.
And I mean, we're more than reasonable. I mean, if like in Kevin Ward, he'd say,
Right.
we understand it,
Yeah.
it's fine.
You can't,
Somebody
you can't
gets in
come
a
out
car
of his house
accident,
in 2 days.
there's a death in the family, we understand. And we would be more than happy to grant it, right? How that communication goes down, I mean, I'm fine with taking that role unilaterally, but we also run the risk that I make a poor decision on if- at some point. Worst case is it gets postponed, but we're not.
How do you make a poor decision on,
I don't think I would.
how can you make a poor decision on a continuance? You're either gonna say yes, no, or no.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, I think at that point, at least people are aware of what we're doing. Worst comes to worst, they come in or they don't.
We do have the advantage of having two attorneys here. Are we overthinking this, or should we come up with a policy?
I don't think it would hurt for perhaps Jonathan to consult with our office. We sit down, we think of something that stays within any state law and procedures that he can then present to the board at the next meeting for you all to vote on.
And I'm great with that. Why don't you do that? I'm great with that. And then, you know, take in consideration what Dave just said, that, you know, put a timeline. You gotta do it within 24 hours of the meeting or whatever, so we can notify, or try to notify.
Well, I mean, I think that falls in that gray area of reasonable amount of time, because when you have these, you know, those flaky things that happen at the last minute, and then we're gonna come in, everybody's gonna be here, we're gonna say, we're sorry, you're gonna get a car accident, we're gonna.
Why don't we just let you guys talk and then
Would you
come back to
say
it?
testimony, if somebody wanted to testify and the person seeking the variance wasn't here, could you accept that testimony?
No, because their attorney would, or themselves wouldn't have a chance to cross.
I think I follow you. You're talking people that showed up to-
Right,
against this.
against it,
or
for
for
it, right.
that want to speak, but the.
So
Take that testimony.
is there, it depends on each situation, I believe. But the only thing I wanted to bring up was that when you said there can't be a bad decision, it's not entirely true. Because if someone requested a continuance, and then the board says, no, you have to go forward right now, depending on circumstances, whatever they would be, they could say, they could seek an appeal of that decision because they weren't granted a reasonable request by the board. Or there could be situations that would arise that would fit.
So the safest way to do it is for Jonathan to sit down with you guys and kick it around and see if we can come up with something that we can live with.
I think so.
Yeah, let's do that instead of wasting time on it tonight.
You know, honestly, in a bunch of years, at least 15 years, how many times have you had a situation?
Well, it seems a lot,
Tonight.
a few later.
Yeah, but honestly, I can count on pretty much one finger how many times we've had continuances, but when it's been last minute or 11th hour, name one.
All of the rotten ones have been with this same attorney.
But that's my point, though. It's
No, I know.
not, it's
But I
not.
know.
And he's retiring.
So, I'm fine
The
with it.
legend will live on.
Because, I mean, you know what, I know the personalities on the board pretty well, and I usually understand where all of you are coming from. I mean, I might get confused, but I understand. On this one, I knew that you guys would want to move forward with this. When anybody disagreed, it didn't seem like it, we all went forward with it. But I'm fine, because he's been steering me straight, and Veronica certainly will too. We should do something.
Just talk it over, maybe it's just because this particular case is aggravating.
Did we muddy the waters at all tonight?
I think that you can't get any more money than where we're at with this case.
Good point.
Yeah, I think we should have done this 3 meetings ago.
3 years ago.
I
I
make a motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor? Aye.